Hello, everybody. AMG Hobby Talk number 36. We are in the late June, last week of June episode. Collector scalps, collector the tea people. Steve, how are you?
A little freaked out looking at your quadrant there, just talking into, I guess, an emoji of Carlos. It's a little
Oh,
creepy.
this is the
Other
this
than
is
that,
the
pretty good.
channel. Steve, this is the channel logo. It
Oh,
is the voice from above.
still creepy.
Repent your sins, Steve. Repent your sins. Blair,
It is.
how are you?
It is getting creepy.
Blair, how are you?
Actually, yeah, I'm good. I am awesome. At least most weeks I can't see Carlos, so at least now I can see you as your anime
Logo.
character or whatever. Yeah.
That's a pop art logo, Blair. Come on, guys. Like your lack of culture is shown. I got to teach you the ways. Sherry, how are you?
I am fantastic. I was going to say we can call you the ghost of Carlos.
That's right. Right now I feel like a ghost, so I'm kind of working with what I got here. So this is my flu game episode, so I'm going to make it work. So I'm going to lean on Steve basically to tell us everything. So that's going to be all Steve at this episode. Nonetheless, however, a couple of things that we'll touch on. I did mention prior to, so we're going to make sure we touch on that right away. There's two things we're going to note for this week. First of all, there's going to be a trade night on Friday, and then there's going to be the card show on Saturday. That is important because this is going to be the last card show of the current cycle, and basically through the summer until we get into the next cycle. So I'm going to share it on there, Sherry. If you want to give the details, I'll share it from the Facebook, but you guys can check it out in the different connections in the description.
Yep, for sure. So Friday, June 28th, we'll have our trade night 5 to 8, followed by the card show. Saturday, June 29th, that'll be 9 to 1 as usual. And as Carlos said, it'll be the last one for the summer. And just to note, we do now close at 7 on Fridays. Aside from the trade night, we will keep that 5 to 8 as we usually have a pretty good crowd at that time.
Perfect. Sounds good. I included, like I said, a link in the description to all the different pieces you need for that. So we wanted to make sure we note that off the top. Now, I am going to go into a couple of products that are coming in, specifically extended. I'll touch on it briefly. But Steve, you were mentioning that it's getting a little busy, even though it's summer. Anything in particular stand out?
Yeah, so usually this time of year, we're doing housekeeping, things like that. But yeah, the past week, it's actually been one of our busier weeks. First of all, an update to the Montreal Expos collection that we featured last week. Within 30 minutes of the podcast airing, a collector from Montreal contacted us, and at the end of the day, we knew that's where the collection would end up, is back in Montreal. So we were transparent with the buyer, and basically what we did was we sold it to him for what we paid for it, and there was a Tony Gwynn bat that's going to be our profit. So we're going to take that to the National in Cleveland just to have it authenticated, which 100% know it's good. And we're just happy, that's why this podcast, we do it. We get items in the right hands of people that will appreciate it. We knew this wouldn't sell in Halifax, and we didn't really want to piecemeal it. So when we had the opportunity to get it to the right person, we jumped on it. So very pleased with that. Also, a couple of weeks ago, we featured another card. This one right here. See if I can. The Michael Jordan Precious Gem out of 10. Sorry about the reflection. And I was able to make an agreement with the owner to consign this card. So if he's watching, there's your grade. And I'll be posting that in our eBay store later today. So should have some interest with that. It's numbered out of 10, and to receive a PSA 9 on a PMG is extremely rare. Yeah. And it's some guy named Michael Jordan, so that helps.
I was about to say PMG, yeah. As a 9 on a PMG is actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. And scrolling across the bottom of the screen, you have the different contact points, AMG at Instagram, and also the AMG Collectibles.ca website. If you go to those ones, you can access the different links, including the eBay store. So the eBay store is also in the description if you want to check it out on the video version. Also on the audio version, you can check it out there. It is, all the links are included in the description.
Yeah. And speaking of the eBay store, just a reminder, we do have our weekly auctions. 50 auctions will be listed every week, Sunday to Sunday. So make sure you check those out and get your bids in. And we do also still have the Trailer Park Boys Funko Pops listed on there as well. So yours now.
And also, we picked up the largest vintage hockey collection we've had in a while. So be sure to stop by the store and check it out. Usually when we get vintage, it comes in and right out. So at least this time we have some volume. So it should last a week or two before we get cleaned out. But definitely pop in and have a look.
Perfect. Sounds good. And I will feature a couple of vintage cards here in the cards that came in because Steve provided a couple of images, and we do have a couple of vintage cards on there as well. So let me move on here to one of the comments from the last episode. It was from Andrew G, and he said, love the Expos memorabilia. I'm glad you did. Somebody else did too, so they were able to make a deal for that, so that's good. Again, as always, if you want to leave any comments, feel free to do that on the YouTube channel. You can do that. Any questions or comments, feel free to put that in there. If it is more pressing or urgent, use the contact points in the description or scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's the quickest way to get Blair's 24/7 complete attention. It's the fastest way. Just go that route, and then there you go. Use the contact points. Okay, so I'm going to quickly touch on a couple of products that are coming in, and then if there's anything notable about any of the above, feel free to stop me, and we can touch on that. So from 2023, Panini Donruss Clearly Football. If you're familiar with what the Donruss looks like, it is the acetate version of it, so it is kind of an interesting-looking product. 2024 Panini Contenders Basketball has started to ramp up the Panini products a little bit. Included in that is 2024 Panini Donruss EuroLeague Basketball. Big-time EuroLeague. There you go. Very exciting. 2024 Panini Recon Basketball. And then we've got in here I want to say Paldine Fates, or is it Palladian Fates? How is it, Cherry?
Paldean.
Okay.
However
Paldean
you'd
Fates.
like to say it.
So this is the booster bundle. Anything in particular about that style of bundle?
No, they come out with the sets, the booster bundles. Everybody knows what they are. 6 packs typically in the booster bundle. Yeah, 6 packs. So they'll be available. They tend to go pretty quickly. So make sure you get yours. It'll be a great time to get your Pokemon fix on Friday night at trade night.
There you go. We got Zion cases. We got the 3200 collectible plastic card bin gray. So we've got that one. I'm not sure. Is that the one where you can actually connect them together? Because I think BCW started doing that one. Is that that kind of bin, or is it just the big plastic bin?
It's definitely the big plastic bin. That's a good point. I
think you can
collect those.
Yeah, there is a version. The reason I ask is because BCW came out with a version that you could actually connect them together. You can interlock them, which I think is an interesting idea. I'll be honest with you, like in all seriousness, as a player collector, it's something I'm looking into, because if I can have one of those and you can basically interlock them and make like with little drawers, that would be an easier way to house some of my cards and be able to organize them that way with interlocking combinations. So I'd be curious if that's the one that it is. But either way, so that's included as part of the equipment that is being brought in for the.
Several people have reached out about those, and they've been on back order for a little bit. So, like anything else, don't hesitate. Come in and get them, because it's probably a limited supply, I would imagine. There's a handful of people that are looking for them.
And just a note with those two, a couple of customers that have already bought them kind of asked out for extra. You get, I think there's 4 dividers inside those, and that's all they come with. So i.e. like a Carlos who's got or wants to separate years or things like that. Anyway, we do have extra dividers in store, so any of the guys that or anybody looking to purchase, we do have those for sale as well too.
Yeah, good call out. Appreciate that. And the other one that is actually being released this week is 2024 Upper Deck Extended. So we've got Hobby and Blaster versions. I'll do a little breakdown. We'll do it brief. I will include a link in the description to this for you if you want to check out the checklist. That is the best way to get the full breakdown. But we'll highlight a few specific things. So Blair, I don't know if you got a chance to look at this much, but I'll lean on you a little bit. I'll touch on a few specific things, but if anything catches any of your collective eye, feel free to let me know, okay? So for Extended, I'm not going to go through the whole checklist and everything. A lot of the inserts and parallels are going to be very similar to Upper Deck. We don't call it Series 3, but unofficially, there's a lot of elements that carry over from Series 1 and 2. So just bear that in mind design-wise, especially for the base. They do have a couple of young guns they throw in there. You've got your Outburst. You've got your Clear Cut. You've got Deluxe, Exclusives, Outburst Red, High Gloss, and, of course, Outburst Gold 1-of-1s. Now, they don't show it on here, but I believe one of the 1-of-1s that they include in there is a version of the Connor McDavid Connor Bedard, 1/1 draft card. So obviously the 1/1 Outburst in the regular one in Series 2 is the big chase, but the draft card was one of the ones inserted into Series 1. But they've included a version of that here where you can actually get a 1/1 Outburst, from what I understand. So that's actually a very interesting little kind of secondary chase. I don't know if there'll be a bounty on that one, but it's a 1/1 Connor Bedard. So just something to bear in mind, that it's kind of an interesting chase there as well, to separate it from Series 2 and Series 1. So in addition, you've got the UD canvas, so you can get a Bedard canvas, which is featured here. You got your Dazzlers, which you expect. Again, a lot of with the usual population count. Now, they do include a couple of inserts here. You've got Seeing Red shown as an example. You got a Silver Spectrum version and a gold version. And then they do include some retro designs. So you got retro Young Guns, so 0809 design, and that with a bunch of the parallels included. You got an SPX Holo View, so this harkens back to 97, 98 design-wise, so bringing that back. And then here, this one, I thought was a little bit interesting because this is Special Forces, which I'm showing on the screen right now. That is going back to 98, 99 MVP, which is kind of an interesting one because, again, you're going back into the archive here, but you're going back to an archive to kind of a base, kind of a starter product. It is a good design, though, I will say. They're going to be nice-looking cards if they follow based on the original design. But it is kind of interesting that out of the whole archive, they would go to Special Forces from 98, 99 MVP of all things. But nonetheless, Extended does reach into the archive a little bit for that one. You got your rookie gems from 07, 08 Black Diamond, which is an old design as well. Hard to say 07, 08 is an old design, but it is now. And we've got a couple of different parallel versions included in it. Your breakdown right now is basically 12 in a hobby box, 12 cards per pack in the hobby, 12 in the blaster, 24 in the hanger, 12 packs per box of hobby, 4 in the blaster, and 12 boxes per case. So the set size is 250 cards. And what you can expect in a hobby box, 2 97, 98 SPX HoloView retros, 98, 99 UD3 or Silver Skates, 6 total, a 2003-04 Beehive or 2008-9 Upper Deck Retro, which, by the way, we didn't even include the Beehive one. That wasn't included in the other list. 07, 08 Diamond, 2 of those, 6 total of the retros that I just talked about, a Dazzler Blue, 4 Seeing Red, 4 UD Canvas, 1 Acetate, 1 Outburst, 6 total Young Gun or first round rookies, and an additional rare serial number card, 2 total. So in a single box, you can expect quite a number of things. It's actually quite a breakdown of different things that you can pull. I think you're going to get basically something that's non-base in every pack, pretty much, in all those instances. And as I said, I'll include a link to this so you can check out all the checklists, and it'll show you. And the Young Guns and everything start at 700 plus. So it's kind of, even though it's not Series 3, quote unquote, number-wise, it's kind of an extension of Series 1 and 2. So just something to bear in mind. Anything else stand out there that is worthy of note, Steve, Blair, Sherry?
Yeah, we've got a pretty good supply of it. I think just like before, we want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to get it. Blasters, we're going to do a maximum of 1 case per household. So please don't come in with a family of 7 and try to buy 7 cases. I know people are after this, but let's just make sure everyone has the opportunity to get some. In a week or so, once it's kind of run its course, then we might open it up a little bit more. The price point on them, again, we always try to be the best around, or at least pretty darn close to it. And same thing on the hobby boxes. We'll probably be a little more limited on those. I don't think we'll do a case. We might round it at half a case maximum to start. And then, like I said, once we feel everyone's had an opportunity, it will be every man for himself after that. But and the price, of course, looking at the checklist, I like it. I think it's not going to cost you as much as Series 2, and it looks like there's some fun little additions in there as well. So, and it's a better rookie class, really. I mean, other than Bedard from Series 2, you've got some good rookies in this one, along with the funky cards that Extended usually adds.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good set, and like you said, you have Cooley and you have Bedard canvas and all the different variations, and I actually like some of the retro. It looks like they've gone a little retro heavy, but I think that may change it up from what they did with Series 1 and 2, because I think that got a little old at the end of Series 2. But I like that. I like they've done a bunch of photo variations as well too, which I just saw a couple of them. They have a penalty box photo variation, which I like, and then there's one called Swagnificent. So that kind of.
Oh, I have the checklist right up there in front. I thought you would.
Oh, there you go.
Listen, if I think of anyone that would fall under the swagnificent demographic, it's got to be Blair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty swaggy. No, but I think it's a great. And now hearing Carlos, thanks for that tidbit. We had chatted about it in store. Where they're gonna put another kind of super chase card in there, like they did with the Easter egg in Series 1. So if that is that 101 draft day card, I think that's pretty cool. So that's they did what we thought they might do. So yeah, I think it's a really good product. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my understanding. I'll double check just to corroborate with that, but I saw an image and a render of it. So it was my understanding. If I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity to use the comments. But I did see a render of it, and it was my understanding that it was included in it. But if I can find independent verification of it, I'll add it to the description as well. Just so I don't misquote. But I'm pretty sure I saw a render for it. I think it was from Upper Deck as well. So I'll double check and see if I can find it. And if I can find an image of it, I'll share it with everybody in the description.
Mm-hmm.
So that's perfect. We wanted to cover those. So let me go and share a couple of items that came in the store here. And Steve, you can speak through a couple of these if we need to. So let me show here. Okay. So first, you got a couple of tins, a couple of classic tins, including a 2015, 2016. So Steve, what kind of discount are we putting on this one? Stanley Cup participant, first runner-up? No?
Maybe we'll trade you some AEW for it. But yeah, we were
I don't
able
know.
to get
This one's on the decline. The AEW right now is stagnant. It stays where it is.
Yeah, no, we were able to actually find a couple sealed cases of tins. So those that may have concerns that it's the hit's been pulled, this or that. These were sealed tins, and of course that's some guy. I believe Austin Matthews is. Is this Austin Matthews year? Oh no, this is McDavid.
15-16 is McDavid. Yeah. That's the reason I made the joke, Steve, about first runner-up.
Yeah, maybe 60% off since they lost. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is one just to sit on the shelf. I know people like ripping cards and that, but it is a little more expensive. But it's one that definitely should appreciate over time. Maybe if you can afford it, buy one to open and buy one to save for a rainy day somewhere down the road, because the proof is in the pudding, and apparently Connor McDavid's a solid player.
I've heard that.
Seems like the play. I like the move. So I think that's pretty good. And then here, I believe this one, I think 16-17 is the Austin Matthews one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Same thing. He's not a bad player.
Yeah. Now, next up, we do have a couple of vintage cards. So you did mention. So is this part of the same collection, or is this separate from those ones?
Yes, it's part of the vintage collection that we took in, and conditions are all over the place. There's high end, low end, medium grade. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. And like I said, it's been quite dry around here picking up vintage. And when we do it, it comes in and goes right out. So we've got a little bit of volume this time, and it is moving quickly. So don't wait too long to come and have a look.
Sounds good. And as part of it, you've got two 1960 tops here. You've got George Vezina and Newsy Lalonde. And part of that, for kind of background for folks, is that because Parkhurst and Topps kind of split the licenses of the teams, so to speak. As a result, they kind of had to have some of the stuff like all-time greats in order to fill in the checklist. The checklists are already pretty small to begin with, but then it's like, okay, so that's the reason why in 1960 you suddenly have a George Vezina card, even though he had long since been retired and he was more associated to kind of the pre-war era. They managed to include cards like that here in order to fill in some of the checklist space. But they do make for some interesting cards if you do want legendary players that are much more affordable than a lot of the, the George Vezina pre-war cards are a little bit more expensive. This George Vezina is relatively reasonable comparatively.
Yeah.
So you got a Haley Wickenheiser from 2023 Upper Deck Horton's Legends. So that's kind of a cool one. There hasn't been a lot of products that touch on that. A lot of Team Canada based products, and Haley Wickenheiser in the women's game is one of the legendary names in there. So it's kind of an interesting way of getting yourself an autograph.
Yes, and apparently I'm not overly familiar with Tim Hortons, but it was limited to 22. They did a series, that their jersey numbers is how many they printed. So obviously this would be a tough signature, and it's actually a customer's that graded it when it came in. I asked him if I could feature it, and I would think we will receive some interest for this card just because there's only 22 of them, and it did receive a 10.
Yeah.
And I have his contact info. If anyone's interested, I could always reach out to him.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, here's a couple of more vintage. You've got 4 different Gump Worsleys, all between 3 of them are in a PSA 2 and 1 in a 1.5. So, again, part of the same big bulk collection, Steve?
Yes. And again, this is an expensive card, but in this condition, they still present very well and are much more affordable. And just have them in the PSA slabs. They just it cleans them up a little bit, and they just present so much better. But he has great gear. I love the gear he's wearing.
Yeah, I just love those full body shots.
I'm not sure what he's doing there. I'm not sure what kind of goaltending positional play that is, but anyway, go for it, Gumper.
That looks to me like it's an early variant of the Macarena. I think he's in the middle mid dance move. I think that's what's going on over there. That's what it looks like to me. I'm just saying.
Looks like he's got his glove taped on. I guess the Rangers couldn't afford to buy a new blocker.
There's a reason they struggled for a long time in the original 6 era. Just throwing it out there. So this was kind of an interesting one. So 1956. So the way it's listed here is in the PSA slab is a 1956 Adventure Louise the Brown Bomber. So here's a boxing card, 1956. It's kind of an interesting. It's a cool looking card, but very simplistic. I'm not too familiar with this particular issue, but it is a very interesting looking card. You know anything about this one?
Yeah, so I always just called it Adventure Gum, but I guess they kind of shortened the name to Adventure. But yeah, it was a set of like all kinds of things. Boxers, there's a Gordie Howe card in it, sailing ships. There's just I think it's a 100-card set. I'm not 100% sure. But the boxing set's quite collectible, and this would probably be, there's a Max Schmeling card, which is a short print, and of course it had the swastika on it, so a little bit risque, I guess. And I'm assuming they probably pulled it at some point. Maybe that's what makes it super tough. But that card alone, if you get the right grade on it, can sell for several thousands. But even raw with a crease in it, you probably get 400 or 500 for the card. And this would probably be number 2 in the set. But you used to see them a lot more often. They've kind of dried up a little bit, and we picked this up last week. So, kind of a neat card, and of course one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a niche that I think if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it is interesting if you're kind of a boxing aficionado. Boxing's kind of fallen out of favor. Obviously, the heavyweight division isn't what it once was, but back at the time, so my pronunciation struggles notwithstanding, this is Joe Louis. And he's one of the great heavyweight champions. So if you go back in boxing history and you're into that kind of thing, 1956, still a pretty good card and a vintage card, but it gives you a chance if you want to get yourself some nice cards from what was still the golden era of boxing. At the time that Joe Louis was out there, the heavyweight championship was still the heavyweight championship. It still meant something. Yeah. And this is obviously post-career for him, but nonetheless, it's a great tribute card. And it's a good-looking image. Very clean, very basic, but it's an interesting-looking card. And then we finish off here in this group here with a 1958 to 61 publicity photos, JPub photos, Mickey Mantle Type 1 portrait, pose/neck. That's a mouthful, but a nice clean image of Mickey Mantle from somewhere between the late 50s and early 60s.
Yeah, we actually bought this from an employee. His name was Blair. And so Blair, you can actually speak on this and why you decided to sell it.
Yeah, so I did. I picked it up from, I picked it up locally. Just a collector kind of had them and was decided to grade a couple, obviously, the Mantle and stuff. I don't think he graded them all, but it was one I picked up. It's Mantle, and it did go with my baseball thing that I talked about on a previous episode, where I was able to pick up a different piece, one that I had been looking for a while, just happened to be mantle. So I kind of looked at this piece and was kind of like, yeah, I like the exhibit that I picked up more. So yeah, I brought this in to see if Steve would have any interest. He kind of liked it. I think he gave it a smile. So yeah. So it's in store for purchase. I'm passing it on. I'm trying to be a mini collector of the people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ambitious goals. Ambitious goals there, Blair.
Yeah. Of course, I have to get out of the office to do that, but
Someday, Blair. Someday.
Someday they'll let me out.
There you go.
And the good thing about this, of course, it's a mantle, and it's relatively inexpensive for a mantle. So, and obviously presents beautifully in the PSA slab again. So, it's price point on it's to add to any collection makes sense.
Yeah, it just looks so much nicer. Like as nice as a mantle would be, but having it kind of giving PSA a little lift here. But it looks they look so much nicer when they're kind of slabbed like that and easy to display and stuff. So yeah. Hopefully we'll find it a good home. I'm sure.
There you go. Perfect. Some good stuff there. So thank you for sharing that. Now I'm actually able to. I was doing a little locating while we were talking, and I was able to find this. So I'll include a link to this in the description that I mentioned earlier.
Wow.
This is from the Upper Deck Facebook page. And by the way, that's a good spot if you want to check out some upcoming recent things that they will showcase things, and they'll do different albums. So here's 23, 24 extended series.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. That's what I was talking about right there. So there's your draft card in gold Outburst, 1 of 1. That's straight from Upper Deck, straight from the horse's mouth. I'll include a link to that in the description for you if you want to check out what that looks like. But if you're familiar with the draft card, here it is in gold Outburst format, which should pop quite nicely. We haven't found the regular gold Outburst yet, as far as we're aware, even though Blair might be just hoarding it in that office. But somewhere out there, presumably, is that gold Outburst. Well, here's another one. If somebody wants to go after and chase after, this one's an extended. And here's Upper Deck providing us the images from their extended gallery. So if you want to check that out, gives you an opportunity.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
So it's just good to know that you've got those ways. They do preview some stuff on their Facebook and their social medias. So it is a way, and they'll put together little albums like that. If you're curious, you want to see a bit of a sneak preview. That one they actually released on June 14th. So you've had a chance to presumably see it for a couple of weeks now. So you get a chance to check some of that out before it actually gets released. Well, now the product's coming out, and you've got presumably a shot at that card. So happy hunting, best of luck. Buy from AMG, buy all the boxes.
Good product.
Yeah. And I'd just like to mention before we kind of sign off here with all the Connor talk and him winning the Conn Smythe last night, but a big Connor McDavid fan. Unfortunately, we had lost a member of the family recently. He had passed suddenly, Brad's Uncle Charles. So I just wanted to mention that and kind of dedicate this episode in memory of him. Like I said, big hobbyist. Many people know him, well known. He was a book of knowledge. We would get our weekly messages saying, okay, here's the pricing for this store. Here's what the pricing is online. Here's the pop report. Here's what my suggestions are. He was teaching me many, many things over the years. So I've learned a lot from him. And so just wanted to put that out there and make this in memory of him.
Yeah. Well done.
Well said, and definitely condolences to the family, extended and otherwise. Great. I know Brad spoke very highly of him. I'm glad you mentioned it because we talked about it in the live stream on Friday, and he always spoke very highly of him and always had good stories about him. So it definitely is good. Is definitely a good mention to make. Definitely.
Yeah, they were very close. Like I said, so knowledgeable. He kind of got into the hobby. Brad got into the hobby because of Charles. They were very close. They were always doing things, always doing deals. I used to say doing the garage deal. We'd pull into the garage and Charles and Brad would do deals down in the garage and wheel them up the stairs. But yeah, so just wanted to make a quick mention. I know many people do know him. So yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So thank you for that. So we'll wind down on that. I want to thank everybody in the team for contributing here, and we'll include a lot of the images and everything. As I said, we'll include a lot of the stuff that we mentioned in the description. You'll get links to the whole checklist for extended if you want to check that out. Now that I was able to find that little gallery, I'll include a link to that for you as well if you're curious in seeing some of the cards that you're trying to chase down and try to get after. And if you ask Blair and Steve really, really nicely, maybe they'll give you the fancy box that has the gold card in it. Now that you know what you're looking for, give yourself your best chance. You can go after it. Scrolling across the bottom of the ticker are a few of the contact points, Instagram and the website. You can check that out. You'll find links to all the different things that we talked about, including the eBay store, including the auctions, including the store itself, and a lot of the different products that you can get into. And if you're in the area and you want to check it out, trade night on Friday, card show on Saturday. Take advantage of that because the card show will go on hiatus for the rest of the summer until we head into the fall. But the trade nights will continue on generally the last Friday of the month. We'll let you know if anything else changes. So for Blair, Sherry, and Steve, Collected the Scalps, Collected the People, episode 36, we want to thank you for checking this one out. We will catch you in the next one.